This question may tie into what Chris was saying earlier because she said one of hers was Pokemon. So Link in the chat just a few minutes ago apparently is done adventuring and wants to enjoy the podcast. So he asks, what's on your guys' Switch wish list out of curiosity? So right now we have Breath of the Wild. My wish list would be whatever the 2D Zelda team is working on. I would like a 2D Zelda game without the limitations that the 3DS had. So, like, A Link Between Worlds was built with the 3DS in mind. You had to limit yourself to the power that the 3DS had, which wasn't very limiting for a 2D Zelda game. But if you take that same approach to the Nintendo Switch, if the Nintendo Switch can give you an experience as big and as wonderful as Breath of the Wild, which is this huge open world 3D game, what all could be accomplished in a 2D game? So I would love to see some of the complex puzzle designs and new mechanics they can come up with. They used the ability of the 3DS to let you merge into walls and become a 2D figure on the wall that worked into puzzles and stuff. So what kind of creative ideas could they come up with on the Nintendo Switch, since they would not be working with any sort of limitations? Like, whatever they could think of, they would technically be able to do. So I would like to see what they could do with that. And then obviously I would really like to see whatever the next Pokemon game is, which they announced would be coming to the Nintendo Switch, which I think might tie into what Chris is going to say. So I'll let you take it from here, Chris.
I'm so eager, to say it. The one game that I've always wanted, and I'm pretty sure they can probably integrate this with Nintendo Labo, is Pokemon Snap. If you can make the camera and build it and turn it and everything, I've always wanted Pokemon Snap, for the longest time. And so if they have that, if they make that, my life is done. I'm going to be spending hours on that for sure.
So you want Pokemon Snap more than
for the
traditional Pokemon game?
Yeah. Well, it'd be really cool if it was integrated with all the Pokemon that they have now, with Pokemon Sun and Moon and even the new Pokemon. I would love to just take pictures of Pokemon.
Okay, so if I don't know who's in charge of Game Freak, so I'm just gonna say if Miyamoto knocked on your door and was like, "Hey, Chris, we're working on 2 different Pokemon games, but we can only launch one this year, and then we'll launch the next one in 2019. So do we release Pokemon whatever, or do we release Pokemon Snap 2?
Pokemon Snap?
Also, get in the house. What are you doing knocking on my door?
I know. Get to work.
Alright, so you would want, at this moment, to play Pokemon Snap 2 more than Pokemon... Alright.
I used to say that the Wii U, they really missed an opportunity to do a Pokemon Snap game on the Wii U with the gamepad as your camera.
Yeah,
so you can have the main game on the TV screen, and then you have your camera as the gamepad, and then it could have been great. But they can still do something with the gyroscope controls, I think, especially for the camera, that. Yeah, they could make something cool.
Yeah.
They could do 3DS though, but
then you can print out the stickers and put it on the Nintendo Labo. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, that would be cool. Really cool. Especially now, what is it? They have all of the integrations with the smartphone games. What's the Nintendo smartphone game that they had? The first one. That was just your Mii's.
Oh, Mito! Oh no, it was
Mitomo.
Mitomo, whatever it was called. If they had something with Mitomo, or if they just released a separate Pokemon Snap app to where, you could put. I guess you could use a Pikachu amiibo for this as well, just to save the pictures. But a way to send some of the pictures that you would take in Pokemon Snap to your cell phone, or to save it on your amiibo, and then you go to a GameStop or somewhere and tap your amiibo on the kiosk they have, and it will print out the pictures that you take. I think something like that would be really cool, similar to
Revive Blockbuster.
Yeah, the way that they used to have Pokemon Snap, where you could take your memory pack or whatever and just like put it in and print out all of your pictures. Except this time, your pictures are going to be in HD, not like a blurry.
It's not the Game Boy
Pokemon
camera.
Snap was.
Yeah.
So it would be really. There's a lot of stuff they could do with it outside of just making Pokemon Snap 2. Like, I imagine it would be really cool if they did have it to where, like, on the Wii U, if you're just moving your camera around and you move your camera and then, like, right beside you without you realizing it was just, like, Celebi or something just, like, flying alongside you. But you never noticed it because you're, like, looking up at the mountains or in the lake trying to find, like, a Dratini or whatever. I don't know. So, yeah, I think it would be really cool, but I still am going to say I would rather have the traditional Pokemon game. I think I would like that, and then it would be, if they could do it, because they have so many different minigames in Pokemon, if they had like a Pokemon Snap minigame inside of it. So I would really like that. What about you, Daniel? Well, what's your wish list?
Give me Yoshi! I want Yoshi! There was like a short trailer for a Yoshi game, and I want to know what that was. I want more details. It's not yarn anymore. Yeah, it's no longer yarn. Yoshi is now craft material. But I really love Yoshi.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to see what that's gonna be. I want to play that game because Yoshi games have like
it's just called
really
Yoshi.
good level design. Like so basically they just don't have a full title yet. Because I think Kirby, it was just called Kirby and now it's Kirby Star Allies. Oh, I really want that game too. And if they make a Donkey Kong Country game, that would be cool with me as well.
Looks really good.
Which Kirby?
No, I'm looking at the Yoshi. It looks like it has the same lighting as, like in Wind Waker HD and Super Mario 3D World. It looked like the main characters had like a glow, like a sort of light aura around them, where the light would hit them and the edges would be like white. Yoshi looks like he has that same lighting, and I really like it. So Nintendo should keep using it. That was one of the things that I didn't like from the change from Super Mario 3D World to Odyssey, because I thought the way that like the edges lit up in 3D World looked better than like just the normal look in Odyssey. That's just my opinion. The game looks really good. It looks
I want to see what
really,
that is.
Really good. Like I'm just looking at screenshots over here. Do you have any thoughts on Yoshi? Have you seen the trailer for the game?
I have not, actually.
How do you feel about Yoshi as a character?
Yes.
Yoshi is
he's
my babe.
Cute. Actually, I prefer Yoshi over Mario.
Yeah.
To be honest, yeah.
So like
Yoshi was fun. He was
Yoshi,
Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. Is that what you're?
It's so good. Also, what's great about Yoshi is Mario he can run, he can jump and stomp on all his problems. Yoshi eats all his problems, and I can really relate to that.
Like if there was a game with just like him and Kirby, like
Yoshi and Kirby together,
just like who could eat the most.
Oh my goodness, that's I don't know.
I think Kirby would win though.
No, Kirby eats like one thing, and then he's like, "This is my new thing. This is my new power." Yoshi eats and eats and eats and eats and eats.
Turns them into eggs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I think I'm gonna just go out here and say, I think Yoshi could eat more than Kirby. Fight me.
Isn't there a channel where it's like they pitted characters against each other?
Oh yeah, there's a really cool one with like Link and Cloud from Final Fantasy VII.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really cool too. Like the graphics and everything were actually really cool. They should do that. Kirby and Yoshi.
But just who can eat more?
Alright.
It's because Yoshi, as soon as he eats too, it's in, it's out. Egg.
It's true.
Right away. So he'll never lose his appetite.
So do you want to take our next question, Daniel?
I'm gonna do the Star Wars one. Yes, our good friend Ashley, who's also one of our Discord mods.
Yes.
She asks, if you had the choice to watch only all of Star Wars or Star Trek your whole life, which would you pick and why?
Yeah, I think she asked this specifically because I asked on Discord, I tagged everyone and was like, hey, send us your questions for the mailbag. It doesn't have to be Nintendo. Or I said it didn't have to be Zelda, so she took it like a step further and was like,
this is really not Zelda or Nintendo, but I just love it.
Which is great. I love the variety because like with the Zelda, like there's been so many times that we've been asked like, what do you want for the next Zelda game? And it's like, well, there's 50 videos already about that on the channel.
Please, we answered that.
Yeah.
I choose Star Wars.
Star Wars.
I love Star Trek as well. I do enjoy it, but I don't love it the way I love Star Wars. And I think because Star Trek is a very utopic sci-fi, and there's a disconnect to me with utopic things because the world is not very utopic IRL. At Star Wars, there is no Earth or utopic society. Everything's kind of in flux, and there's a very big fantasy element to Star Wars that I really love. So
there's two different sides to this question. She could just be talking about the main Star Trek series and then the main Star Wars movies, or even if it's just the Star Trek movies and then the Star Wars movies. But outside of just the movies, Star Wars has like several different animated series. They have like a lot of books and stuff that tie into the movies, comics. They have the spin-off movies now. So I would say Star Wars because since Disney took over, there's the new animated series that I haven't watched, but a lot of people said it's really, really good. There are some of the old Star Wars animated series that had mixed reactions. So I would say Star Wars just because I like the new Star Trek movies, but I'm not that big of a fan of like the older TV series. I never really went back to watch them. So there really isn't
my parents
much of an
are
interest
like
there.
huge Star Trek fans, so I might be letting them down with this. So I grew up with a lot of Star Trek, but like so I do like it. But no, it's Star Wars just like I get giddy about Star Wars. Almost as much as Zelda. Not quite that much though.
Almost there. I like Star Wars too. If I had to choose one, for the same reason. Because I heard the comics are like amazing. Like my friend is diehard Star Wars fan, and he's just like, there's a lot more to the stories that people don't know. So the comics and the shorts and all that stuff, they're like really, really good. So
awesome. All right. Do you want to pick the next question, Chris?
Let's see.
Or actually, while you look, I'll do this one because I thought it was just kind of a funny question. So you look for them, and then there's this long question about Zelda being emo that wasn't necessarily. It starts out as a question, but then like it just gets funny. But
oh no,
it's John. I don't know from YouTube asks or says there's some emo people making Zelda games lately. Ever since Twilight, like, it's okay for it to be gothic since it's dark and a medieval game, but emo, ... Not why. Don't know what that means. Naughty?
No,
Naughty?
thank you, I guess.
Yeah, I guess no thank you.
No,
but emo, no thank you. Like, the game should be dark and tragic, not light and moody. Like, you don't have to kill people to make it dark. Just make it spooky as crap. I want that feeling of when I first come out of the Temple of Time as an adult and saw the destruction, the feeling of Icona Village, the harshness of the desert, or the ocean from Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time.
Can I point out something?
Yeah.
He says you don't need to kill people to make it dark, and then he lists like the areas that are where a lot of people died in those games. like Icona Village is like literally like the roaming with ghosts and zombies, and so I'm not. We're gonna lose a fan in this one. I think.
He goes on to list a bunch of different stuff, but basically his question or his statement is, "What's up with Zelda being so emo lately?" And then he talks about like Majora's Mask's dark gritty aura around it. Everyone's kind of sad and depressed. Twilight Princess has the same darkish aura around it. I guess Breath of the Wild, he mentions that everything seems so lonely. Like, you go to a village or a town and it's all destroyed except for like one or two. So like, but yeah, Chris, why is emo people making Zelda? He wants to know.
Because life is really hard.
Yeah. Like,
okay.
Life does not peach kids. I'm so sorry, but when you get older, life is a lot harder.
I think that what it's John fails to see is that it's the same people making Zelda. Like
yeah, like
pretty much
Wind Waker was really happy.
like Wind Waker was
Skyward
the same
Sword
team
was really
as Twilight Princess, and those two games are not like the same in tone at all, right?
Yeah, actually, like Wind Waker HD was made like right alongside the beginning of Breath of the Wild. So
yeah, so I mean, the thing is, like, the different games go for different things, different feels. I wouldn't call any of the Zelda games emo. I really wouldn't call any of them that. There are sad points, but there are also points of levity and happiness. Breath of the Wild can be lonely. It can also not be lonely. So Breath of the Wild is very much
like Kakariko Village the whole time.
It is, even the points I think where you're alone in the game. I never felt lonely. One, because I had a wolf with me. No, not all the time. But also, the thing is, like, I think it's what you make of it, and it's what you're reading into the game. I have to really ask, like, if you're lonely.
Yeah.
If that's what you're getting out of Breath. Like, for me, Breath of the Wild, it was this big adventure. There's open space. There's lots of places to explore, things to see, sightseeing coming out the wazoo. I wanted to climb every mountain, overturn every stone, and I was so busy doing all that. I wasn't like
bridge that like so tries to get you to stop from killing yourself. He thinks you're gonna like jump off the bridge.
That was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's what you make of it, man. It's Majora's Mask was I don't feel like you're using it correctly in your defense of
the way you could
games.
Look at Majora's Mask is there is like a lot of sadness going on in the game, but
there's also a wedding though.
Yeah, like there's all of the side quests are in all of the side quests you are trying to help someone with their problem. So like you could look at it as like, oh, it's a game where everyone's being emo, where you could look at it as it's a game where you try to make everyone happy again. So like that's what you're trying to do the whole time, is cheer everyone up, solve their issues, solve their problems. Like I didn't think it was that serious of a question. I just like the thought of condensing all of what he was saying to why is Zelda emo. So
yeah, my answer is it's not.
Yeah,
but I do agree with what Chris said. Life is hard, guys.
Yeah. So, were you able to find your question, Chris?
Yes. So I think what they're trying to say, and this is from Person Man, is that really like his dash?
Person Man. I love it.
I was like, I think, and it says, what will happen with Zelda in the recent game? Like, what does it take to become the royal line?
Okay. So did you play in complete Breath of the Wild, Chris?
No, I haven't. I've played bits and parts. I know, because
you haven't played it, or you haven't completed it.
I haven't beaten it.
Okay.
We need to.
I barely honestly even really did too much, to be honest, because then Mario Odyssey came out, and I was like, huh?
Was it too lonely?
It was too lonely.
It was too emo?
See,
I'm sorry.
Daniel,
I shouldn't make fun of this poor guy.
I know. Oh, we're just kidding, though. Please still subscribe.
We need like a stricter process of getting the guests on, because usually, like with Chris, I think I watched a podcast a long time ago where it was like Nintendo Dads or something.
That's us, Jesse. We're Nintendo Dads.
Yeah, but it was just like a podcast like Nintendo Guru or Nintendo Dad or something like that.
Yeah.
So I watched that podcast, and I had came across some of the stuff that you've done from like articles and stuff that I've written about you. And then from that, I think I'm like started following you on social media and subscribed to your YouTube and everything. But then it wasn't until like I don't know if it unfollowed me or what happened, but like I noticed that I was trying to think of guests to come on that had something to do with Nintendo, and I seen something that someone had retweeted from you, and I was like, oh, I remember she used to be on the podcast with the one guy, and it was really awesome. So we should get her on, but we need to do like more background checks to make sure that they actually.
Make sure you played some Zelda.
Yeah. No, there was some blah. I'm getting tongue-tied. There was someone who commented on a video with one of my friends, Orion, who, yeah,
they were so mean to him.
He's a big
so
Zelda.
Nice.
Yeah, he's a big Zelda fan, but he is the lead singer of a band called City of Ashes, and he's also an actor. One of the things that he acted in is he played Link in a fan-made movie or project. So I had him on because obviously he's such a big fan, but he'd also he came on to talk about the new album that his band was releasing and then his time and experience playing Link in the TV show, because I always thought it was odd that in one job he was the lead singer of a band, so like all he does, it's all about him and his vocals, but then the other project was just him being silent. So like I just thought it was a bit of irony there. But he came on and he was talking about like he hasn't had time to really play a lot of the newer Nintendo games because he was constantly on the road on tour for his band. So there's a lot of people that was commenting like, next time you get a guest, make sure that they're actually a Nintendo fan, or like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And it's like, no, he's very knowledgeable about Nintendo. He's played Ocarina of Time or like Wind Waker as much as anyone else. It's just like when it comes to the new stuff, like a lot of people, we don't really, just because we don't have time to play something doesn't mean we don't have the love for it. Like I'm sure you would love to like take a full weekend and just like run through all of
I would love to.
But like no one really has that free time in their schedule. So
well, you know what they're saying is like a lot of the 90s kids are like starting to become adults, and like, we had our fair share of our generation playing video games. Dare say that we kind of started it, but we have to get older and we have stuff to do, and life is hard, and and again there's no expectations for you to become a gamer, like, just life.
All right. So,
what was the question again?
No, it was. I was just looking at Gibbs commented saying Aonuma equals emo, because he's the one that the first game he directed was Majora's Mask, so he's been in charge of all of the emo games.
He's the dungeon designer for Ocarina of Time, which means that he's personally responsible for Bottom of the Well. AKA my child nightmares.
So yeah, the question was, what will happen in Zelda in the recent game? Like, what is to become the royal line? So he needs to, I think, have this structured a little bit better, but maybe he just.
I think he's saying, what does it take, right, to become part of the royal line?
Well, I mean, the royal family is all descended from.
Yeah. Well, in this, I think
it's the same, it's the same, soul, I guess. If that makes any sense.
With this, I think he means what is to become the royal line is what he said. So maybe it's like where the royal family, everyone's dead basically, except people in Kakariko and Gerudo. Yeah, so the royal family, the only person left is Zelda, and then maybe Link and Zelda have a relationship. But then it's they're the only royals.
They've been through this so many times.
Yeah, so
they're probably gonna get reincarnated. New storyline,
Yeah, I think. But for the royal line, in this interpretation of the question, I think Link obviously becomes the king of Hyrule, and then Zelda would become queen. So.
So you ship it, boy?
I know.
Well,
you gonna get a baby?
Well, the only other that was interested in Link is a dead fish. So.
Yep.
Mifa,
okay. So.
Mifa's not there anymore. But yeah, what was your interpretation of the question though? Because you thought it was something. You meant something different, Chris.
Yeah, I thought he was like talking about like the standards of what it takes to be part of the royal line. But you know what? Going back to like Mifa and Link, how cool though would it be if it was like a half human?
Oh,
Like,
that weird
that
would it
would-
be?
That would be crazy.
No,
That'd be crazy. And
thanks.
then like it would get like half elf. I don't know. Like
There was
No.
there is a. I'm going to spoil something for you, but there is a relationship, and it might be a side quest. But there is a relationship between Azora and a Hylian in Breath of the Wild.
That's true. Yes, they send each other like letters. You have to bring a letter to him
Yeah.
from her.
That's cute.
So
Yeah, and it's
there is some
it's weird.
interspecies erotica going on in Breath of the Wild.
What's the latest Tarantino movie? Doesn't it involve like a fish and someone falls in love with it?
What? Oh
Right?
boy.
What
Okay,
is
but
it?
Zora's lay eggs, guys. The reproduction is totally different. Oh
Who knows?
no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So, I guess we'll have 2 more questions and then we'll be done. Maybe 1 more. So Joshua Bennett, you go ahead and take this question, Chris, since you're a special guest. Go ahead.
Okay. So
Joshua Bennett. Yeah, it's highlighted blue.
I'm sick of remakes. SSHD is inevitable, which I don't mind because I love SS and it needs a remake, but then no more. I don't care if it's Unreal Engine or whatnot. I'd rather have more spin-offs. At least it's something new.
Yeah. So how do you guys feel about this? Because I like to look at every home console Zelda game has in a way been remade or reimagined, except Zelda 2, because when they were first showing off Breath of the Wild, they said that it was heavily inspired by artwork from the original Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's the artwork links looking at the Twin Peaks and everything, and then the Lionels from the first one are obviously in this one. So there's a lot of inspiration from it. So I would say like it was not necessarily a remake of the original Zelda, but like
it was inspired by it, at the very least.
Inspired. So, and then we have A Link to the Past, which was reimagined with A Link Between Worlds, which began as a remake, but then changed into its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
We have Ocarina of Time 3D, Majora's Mask 3D, Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD. The only one that hasn't been remade is Skyward Sword. So I think sometime this year, maybe next year, we will get some word of it being remade.
I still think 2021, the 10-year anniversary of Skyward Sword.
Yeah, but that's so long to wait. That's like 3-4 more years. So personally, I'm a fan of remakes. If it allows me to play a game that I already love, but make it look even better. Because the problem is, like, if you compare like Ocarina of Time 3D, which was the remake of Ocarina of Time, it wasn't made by Nintendo. Like Grezzo, which was a separate company, was making it, so Nintendo was still able to work on Skyward Sword or whatever game they were working on at the time. So it wasn't taking any development time away from Skyward Sword. Yeah. So it's not like, oh, well, we're going to give you this remake instead of this new game. I look at it as, here's this remake plus this new game, because it's a different team working on it. The only time that didn't really happen was with Wind Waker HD, which Nintendo did work on. But then they said because of their work on Wind Waker HD, they were able to understand how to develop games in HD more so than they would if they were just starting from nothing. So in a way, maybe that kind of helped even speed it along. But yeah, the question, like the remakes, are you guys in favor of it? Because this year, it's the 20th anniversary of Ocarina of Time, but it's already had a 3D remake. But I'm still all in on an official HD remake. What's a better way to celebrate the 20th anniversary than to release an official HD remake? So I'm in favor of it. I do understand where he's coming from. I would still like spin-offs, like Hyrule Warriors is really fun. So whether it's a spin-off, a remake, or an original game, to me it is more Zelda. As long as it's not a cell phone game. Daniel is also in support. He says he doesn't want a cell phone Zelda game. So
I don't.
But what about you, Chris? Like, what are your thoughts?
I'm totally down for it. Well, because like, think of it this way: it allows another generation, a younger generation, to play the games that we played when we were younger. You know, and if you don't want the remakes, don't buy them.
Yeah.
You know, so and again, it's like it allows like for people who've never played the game to enjoy it, you know, the way that we did when we were younger. So that's why I think it's perfect.
Yeah,
I like the remakes. Keep them coming.
And you kind of answered this earlier with the spin-off, because he talked about spin-offs and remakes. But if you were to choose any Zelda game to be remade, which one would it be? Because if we ask the spin-off question, like the game is based off the side characters that we talked about earlier, we kind of listed what we would want as a spin-off. So as a spin-off, I assume you would want Impa, a game focused on Impa. So what would you want as, like what Zelda game would you want to see remade for the Switch?
You know what, to be honest, I would just like, even just Twilight Princess just to be in 4K. I would really like to see a detailed, like, oh no, he disappeared. I would
Jesse.
like to see he disappeared.
Sorry,
well, see,
sorry,
I'm seen in a dark
I'm
corner already because the sun's going down. Just, like, disappeared.
Your room was so bright before.
Oh yeah, James, one of the people in the chat, he mentioned that your lighting changed. So.
I know, yeah.
But it's fine. It's everyone can watch and see that, like, as it gets darker in your room, the podcast is coming to an end. So we only have one
taxi in the background. But honestly, I would just like to see any of the games made in hyper realistic.
Yeah.
You know,
did you see the Zelda Wii U tech demo?
What's that?
The Zelda Wii U tech demo. Whenever they first showed off the Wii U.
Yeah, like a really hyper realistic, like see the sweat on their face, like. You know, if it was like Twilight Princess, see the wolf and all his fur, and you know, like I think that would be gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Because my sister started playing Okami, like the remake HD, and she said it was amazing.
Yeah, like,
you know,
what I always wanted was if I could pick any art style for Zelda, I would want it to look like Final Fantasy, like a mix of Final Fantasy 15 and the new Tomb Raider games, to where Tomb Raider looks super realistic, and then the Final Fantasy 15 looks more like a realistic anime. So if they can make it look like an even more realistic anime, I think that would be the perfect style for Zelda. So that's what I would go with. But what about you, Daniel? I know you've answered this before, but what game should be remade?
Okay, well, I mean, first of all, I'd like to dispel let's kind of go along with what you were saying. Like, just because we'll get a remake doesn't mean we won't get another Zelda game. Also, the spin-off thing, like, Nintendo, they're very protective of their IPs, so the fact that we've gotten any Zelda spin-offs is a miracle. Like, when Hyrule Warriors was announced, I was blown away. I was like, no way are they allowing this. Like, they're so protective of their properties, right? I would like more spin-offs too. I think that would be fun. But, like, again, I'm also like, hit me with the remakes. I love them. I'll get them. I've got them. I got them all basically. So I don't see why anyone would be opposed to them. Like, you don't have to get it if you really don't want it. You know, that's an option for you. If you're really, like, you don't need it or whatever. Like, I already have this game. I don't need to buy it again. Then sure, don't buy it. But every time, like, I used to have that same sort of mentality, but then I was at work at my old job a few years ago, and I had a coworker who, she was born in 98. And so already it was a little... yeah, exactly. Right? So for me, like, I have childhood memories that took place that year, you know, that include Zelda. And this person, she was a lot younger than me, oh, she's gone now. She's gone into the shadows. Oh, okay, they're like,
I'm back.
into the shadows.
Yes, it's like, oh, she's gone. We can talk bad about her now.
Took her.
I thought it'd be
but yeah,
but
so this was kind of an eye-opening experience for me, because then she's like telling me, oh, I have a 3DS. I was playing this Zelda game on it. She'd heard me talk about how much I love Zelda before, and she's like, it's really good. And this was the first time she had played it, and I was like, oh, which game was it? A Link Between Worlds, because I really liked that game. And she's like, no, Ocarina of Time. And I was like, this is the first time you were playing this. And I was like, why? Like, when we were kids, well, thinking like that. And then I remembered, like,
but you said this was
she's
coworker?
younger than me. Yeah. So
is it the one that was supposed to also be a guest on here?
No, not the same person. But it was kind of eye-opening, because, like, this person, she's almost an adult. She was in her late teens at the time, and she didn't have the same childhood I did. She didn't have an N64 growing up like I did, because she was born that much later. So this is her chance to play this game. It's a new opportunity, bringing it to a new generation. So, like, sometimes companies remake games too soon, I think. But like when Twilight Princess came out, I knew people who were like, this game is new still. Like, why are they remaking it? And I was like, guys, it came out 10 years ago.
Yeah, it came out on the 10th
what?
anniversary.
No way. And I'm like, yeah, 2006, guys. It came out 10 years ago. And people, like, we forget how much time has gone by. We sort of lose track of that. So, yeah, I'm all for remakes. If it can expand the audience and bring more people into this. When I was at Symphony of the Goddess, sitting behind me were these two little kids. They were probably like 10, and they were playing Zelda on their 3DSs together. And I was like, that's awesome. Like, these kids they haven't played all the same games I have, but they're here at this symphony about to listen to some great Zelda music and have their minds blown, and just like I am, and they're coming into this, and it's awesome to see people, like, learn about it and get into this fan base, right? Even though some people are quite elitist. But yeah, I really like any remake is good by me. Maybe if it's one that was just out recently, we can wait a little bit before, like, Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD, I think we're too soon to do another remake of. Ocarina of Time is an old enough game that they could do it, even though the 3D version came out in 2011,
Especially
not everyone had a 3D,
if they choose to do another remake instead of just a port of the 3D version to the Switch, like if they actually remade it to look somewhat like the fan projects, then I can see.
Yeah,
like,
I don't want it in Unreal Engine 4, because everyone and their dog ports things as a fan project to Unreal Engine 4, and I find, no, we don't need that. If I had to pick one Zelda game to have a cool remake of now, I'd love to see the original 2.
Zelda 2?
Zelda 1 and 2. I'd
Zelda
love to see those two remade. And especially if they have the art style of, like, Octopath Traveler. God, that would look great.
Have you seen Octopath Traveler, Chris? It's like isn't that the weird 2.5D thing?
Yeah, it's like 2D, HD, and it's got, like, really good lighting. Just do a quick Google search right now. It's
Octopath?
Just think of the first Zelda, but with that sort of style. Octopath.
So we have
I've answered this question to death.
we have 2 questions left. We will hurry and get through these instead of discussing them at length.
I've been, like on these lengthy seminars today.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
I could do a TED Talk about video games.
You're just very passionate.
So
That's what it's all about.